Good morning, Yonatan.
Good morning.
We are speaking together, two Israelis now in Scandinavia, you in Norway, me in Denmark. But we are going to speak about something that was said the other day on 60 Minutes in a coverage of the protesters for against the Israeli judicial overhaul. This is a group called Brothers in Arms, and three of their representatives were being interviewed on 60 Minutes. And there is a critical sentence, a critical moment in that interview, which has been exploding the social media, as I've seen, and it's featured on Mondoweiss yesterday. Philip Weiss wrote an article focusing on this saying. The one representative, Shira Etting, she was saying, I was a combat helicopter pilot. If you want pilots to be able to fly and shoot bombs and missiles into houses, knowing they might be killing children, they must have the strongest confidence in the people making those decisions. I'll just read it again. If you want pilots to be able to fly and shoot bombs and missiles into houses, knowing they might be killing children, they must have the strongest confidence in the people making those decisions. And her comrade, Ron Scherf, he's a commander in the special forces. He goes in the moral values of them. He confirms it. Yes, we have to have confidence in their moral values. And Shira Etting confirms again exactly. So that was something that went unchallenged in 60 Minutes, and it kind of caused a shock. And I looked at what she was saying. Is she saying, I have to confirm there are no children there? No, she's saying there might be children there, but we want to have confidence in the decision makers. Now, it's almost to the day 20 years since you have refused to continue your military service as a helicopter pilot in the Israeli army, and you confronted the commander of the Air Force, Dan Chalutz, and you had a personal discussion with him, and you asked him whether he would be willing to do the same thing, like bomb a house, knowing that there are civilians there if that was an Israeli house. And he said no. He told you some things about his thinking. Let me hear about that.
I asked if they would approve shooting a missile to hit any target of someone going to bomb or something like that, knowing that what they call the collateral damage of people around would be Israelis, say in an Israeli city like Tel Aviv. And in response to my question, he said that he has the level of blood value. Of course, he didn't say blood value, but he meant that the worth of life is as following. And he described how on top is the Israeli citizen, below that is the Israeli military soldier, under that it's the Palestinian civilians, and under that is the Palestinian fighters. And therefore, he would not risk shooting a missile when knowing that it has a good chance to kill civilians that are from the high blood value of Israelis. Now, I think that if you go back now 20 years and find those interviews that we, like me and my friends from the pilot's letter, when we refused to continue to be part of these war crimes, you probably can find sentences that are not so different than Shira's words, with one little difference. We thought that it's not normal and not legitimate at all to shoot into houses, to shoot into a ghetto, to shoot into a concentration camp that we lock and humiliate and oppress people for decades. That's the reason that me and my friend decided that we are no longer want to be part of these horrible crimes against humanity. My personal role was I was a helicopter pilot that does rescues and fly commando troops. I was not in the role of shooting missiles like this Shira, but nevertheless, we said that whatever is our job in this military that does this, what they call targeted killing, that was not targeted at all, we are not willing to take part of it anymore. And it was exactly to the day, as you said, 20 years ago. And I think what happened in those 20 years is that it did become a normal thing to shoot missiles into houses and to annihilate families. Sometimes 30 people would die in a second by these pilots. And to listen to this Apache helicopter pilot normalizing, and she probably doesn't even understand that. I think it would take a while for her to understand the level of disgust of these words that she just spelled. It just show you how we went all those years downhill in the level of inhumanity of these actions. And it's important to say that Israel is just one actor that does it. Of course, we look up to America, and these are the practices that it's normal today to shoot missiles into houses, into cities, and kill hundreds and thousands of children, of civilians. And this is not a democracy. It's a totally different thing than democracy, and it's thinking about these brothers in arms and people alike protesting to protect the so-called Israeli democracy is really it becomes in a way poetically disgusting.
I think that the moment 20 years ago, which was kind of critical and maybe causative to your refusal letter, how many pilots were you then signing this letter?
When we signed, it was 27 pilots. About 1/3 of them were still in active duty, and the 2/3 were veterans and former high commanders. Some of them were very, very high in high positions in different branches of the Israeli Air Force. Later on, few people got afraid and took their names off, and some other people joined. Yeah. But it was all in all around 30. It's important to mention that when we organized it, it took about a year or so of a secret organizing, because we didn't want it to be revealed before we are ready. We went to, and I personally met, for example, the former commander of the Air Force who already passed away. His name is Amos Lapidot. He was he knew every detail about this initiative, and so some others. But they chose not to join us. They were not feeling comfortable or too afraid, but they didn't turn us in for many months. So I think it showed the system that we were just the tip of the iceberg, and there was a lot of discomfort in the Air Force about these things. But just like it happened in other cases in history and nowadays, it's very easy for not normal things to become normal. The process of rationalization that we all go in our lives, rationalizing, harming animals, or rationalizing like being with a house and shelter when other people are barely surviving. It happened to these people, and what back then seemed as unheard of, today is a normal process.
I think if correct me if I'm wrong. I think the event that kind of catalyzed your response was the bombing of the house of Sheikh Shahada. Was that in 2002?
Yeah, it was one of the things that there were. It was just one event of a long list of assassinations and bombardments of people, not just in Gaza but also in the West Bank. And of course, the most famous of them was Salah Shahada, was the leader of the armed branch of the Hamas in Gaza. It was the night of the 22, I think, of July 2002, when a one-ton bomb was dropped by an F-16 in the middle of the night in one of the most densely populated neighborhoods in the Gaza Strip. And about 15 people died, and most of them children, about 9 children. But just as a reference, in 2014, we were talking about that one bomb drop on the house of Sarah Shahade. That was 1-ton bomb in 2002. In 2014, 100 bombs of 1 ton were dropped on a segment of the Gaza Strip next to Rafah, in one of these most brutal massacre operations of the Israeli military. 100 bombs of 1 ton at one night. And later on, Israel shoot skyscraper, like big high towers of civilians in Gaza, and everything is accepted. So the process of brutalization and Nazification, I would say, is going, and it doesn't seem like it's stopping. My fear, if we talk about like current political reality, is that somehow, with a lot of pressure, they will stop this new laws and all this crazy revolution that happened there, and things will go back to normality. And back to normality means continuing the ongoing ethnic cleansing and the ongoing acts of genocide, because when you kill a population in such a way that they don't have anywhere to run to, they cannot leave Gaza, they cannot escape anywhere. Every now and then, every few months, every few years, to me, it counts as acts of genocide. And my fear is that we will go back to business as usual. And I really hope that in some way the situation will continue, and these protests will help some people, maybe like this Shira, realize their role in the very not democratic country of Israel. They are fighting to preserve something that is a crime. We should not preserve a crime. We should make a total change of that, and make it make this this whole system that we call Israel change to something else.
So on the one hand, this 60 minutes coverage, it was meant to show the forces that are fighting to maintain democracy in Israel, the forces of good, so to speak. You could see the face of the interviewer when Yariv Lavin was interviewed. It wasn't nearly as welcoming and warm to him. But in fact, we have with sayings like the one we are talking about here, we are actually a picture of how Israel is today has been shown. And it's actually like what you're saying, it is showing the degeneration of Israel's society, which the protest group, at least like this one, Brothers in Arms, are part of. So, I mean, what do you think will be the catalyzer for a real turnaround? What will be causing such a recognition that they are, of these people, that they are normalizing the inhumane?
To me, the only thing that can happen, that can save this place is collaborating together with the Palestinians that live in this region, and making this struggle for real democracy and equality for all. And its leaders, in my view, the leaders I would welcome are the Palestinians, Palestinian citizens of the non-democratic state of Israel, and Israelis that are realizing that to be white supremacist or Jewish supremacist citizen, it's totally not legitimate. But maybe in some strange way, those brothers in arms and those forces in Israel today will find themselves in the front line, actually fighting in a civil war against the more Nazi powers. And that will be their process of realizing how brutal the system is. Maybe that's where we are going, to a civil war where one side is the extreme right and fanatics, and the other side is these people that are trying to protect what was never a democracy, and during that maybe realizing that that the whole system is rigged and the whole thing is not never been a democracy. I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine who never agreed with me, and we served together in the same squadron. All those last 20 years, I've been trying to convince him to refuse. And for some reason, we still managed to keep in touch. Many people did not want to talk to me or meet me or continue being friends, because it was clear in our relationship that I stay in touch because I still have some hope that I can convince people to stop murdering or to stop being part of a murderous terrorist organization like the Israeli military. But in a recent conversation we had, and he's now not flying in the Air Force anymore. He was a rescue pilot like me, but then he became a pilot in the police under Ben Gvir, the Kahana guy that is now a minister. And he is very devastated with the current situation, of course. And he was talking about maybe it's time to leave, but not just to leave the police, but to leave the country because he has no hope. And I told him, no, no, no. You should have left before and protest these crimes. Now you have to stay there and you'll have to do probably the most dangerous fight. Because now some forces within the military and within the police are realizing that it's going to be a full-blown Nazi system. Then it will be there on their shoulders to maybe fight, to maybe do the things that we as nonviolent activists never wanted to be part of. They stayed in the system for so long. They don't have the privilege to leave now, take their fancy pension and retirement packages. They might be those who have to stay now and fight because it's going to be more and more crazy in the coming years. But of course, no one wants to do that. But to me, in a distorted and maybe funny way, looking at Dan Khalutz, the general that fired me personally and was the symbol in which we fought against or struggled against in the time of 20 years ago, the pilot's letter. Now he is the leader in a way of a list of 1,700 Air Force former and still active pilots and air crews calling to refuse to obey the orders, even if it's not from the right reasons. History is all the time unfolding in front of our eyes, and in a way, sometimes it puts the responsibility of some actions on the shoulders of those people that were blind all these years, and maybe slowly will start to open their eyes. I tell people that previously they look at people like you and me as super extremists talking about Israel as an apartheid. Now it's the former commander of the Mossad that say that Israel is enforcing an apartheid in the occupied territories. So some things are happening, and not all of them are negative in a way. And maybe it will be those criminals that stayed in the system for so long that, in a way, will have to do that real fight.
Yeah. I want to ask you about this this principle, like the deferring of moral responsibility, because this is what is at the core of what Shira Etting was saying on 60 Minutes. She must have the strongest confidence in the people making those decisions. Never mind what those decisions are. Now, you talked about your comrade, now a pilot in the police. From what I understood, it seems to me that his problem is now he's getting orders from Itamar Ben Gvir, the Kahanist. And maybe those orders will be the same orders that he got 10 years ago. Maybe. But now he's going to get it from a certified Judeo-Nazi, right? So this is creating a huge problem in the people, and this is what is at the core of what Shira Etting is saying. If Dan Khalutz gave her the order to kill a family with children, then she would probably be pretty much okay.
Which he actually did. Give orders to kill families. So it's totally right. I think the inner lie, the inner self-deception is crumbling and is not possible anymore to sustain when your commander or your minister is a full-blown neo-Nazi Jewish supremacist Kahanist. Yeah, I think in one way, of course, I look at it in a very cynical way, but in another way, in a some other voices inside me are saying that maybe that's what we need to see. Maybe that's what these guys needed to see to get orders from these Nazis. These Amos Oz-like commanders that send the military to bomb Gaza while reading a poem. Maybe you need these extreme fascist Nazis, whatever you want to call them, to come to your doorstep as their commanders to wake up. Because it's a very critical time. I think people talk about all the protests and stuff, and I'm all for protesting, but I don't know. Like when we grew up in Israel as kids, we learned that Nazis are to fight with. You don't negotiate with Nazis. When Nazis are in power, you fight them. And now I live in Oslo in Norway, and it doesn't seem like they have any motivation to put any pressure on Israel. The level of hypocrisy is just unbelievable. They would continue to do whatever the U.S. State Department tells them. They continue to do arm trade, to sell oil, to politically and diplomatically defend Israel. Just as we speak, like a few days ago, the foreign minister of Norway came back from a meeting with Netanyahu, not with Netanyahu, with the foreign minister of Israel. So I see the Israeli occupation, apartheid, whatever name we call it, ethnic cleansing, as a joint project, not only of Israelis. And it's really important because for some people in the Palestine solidarity movement around the world, it's easy to look at people like you and me and put the responsibility of these crimes on us and our families and our society. And I say, no, you don't get to do that. The continuation of this ongoing ethnic cleansing is very much the responsibility of every state in Europe, of the United States, of course, of Australia, of all these countries that are totally part of the mechanism that make it possible. So the last thing I want to create in the hearts of people when they hear you and me is this sense of purification. They support Palestine, they are on the good side, and over there, the crazy fascist Israelis. No. It's a joint project that would never continue for so long without the active participation of every country in Europe, especially those beautiful, peaceful social democracy in Scandinavia that we have to, there are all those projects and all these humanitarian supports and everything. No. They are all active part of the ongoing of ethnic cleansing of Palestine. And they have some lip service that they pay, and they give some money here and there, and they invite all these nice organizations to speak here and give some some different humanitarian support, but behind the scene, they are the reason that all this craziness continues. And lately, it became more and more important for me to say that, because I realized that that's the actual reason that it continues. Stop thinking that we have to, change those crazy Israelis. No, no, no. You have to change yourself. You have to go into the arm industry in your own country, to your ministers that are profiting from that. We just found out a few days ago that the foreign minister of Norway is dealing with the stocks of the arm manufacturers in Norway. Her husband, but
Yeah.
it's basically the same. And the husband also of the foreign prime minister of Norway. They are all part of it. They all benefit directly or indirectly from the killing of Palestinian children that Shira and her friends are killing directly, but the bullet is coming also from here.
Yeah. So maybe these people also, and especially in the United States, where they're consuming this 60 Minutes program, maybe they are finding in these brothers in arms a kind of moral cushion.
They find in them brothers in arms, because they are
yeah.
brothers in arms of brothers in arms.
Yeah.
They supply the arms of these brothers in arms. When they look at Shira talking about her killing of Palestinian children, they should know that the missile is made in their country. In many cases, those Hellfire missiles, for example, they are produced in America, I think, and the explosive is made 40 minutes from here, next to Oslo, in a company named Nobel Chemring, that was actually previously owned by famous Alfred Nobel family, and it's still called even Nobel. And that's where they produce the explosive that eventually goes to those head of these missiles that Shira and her friends are shooting into houses in Gaza.
Yeah.
So they are all brothers in arms of the Israeli brothers in arms.
Thank you very much.
Yonatan, I want to say thank you for everything that you do, because it's been many years that I read what you write, and your your restless work in all these matters is very impressive. And as someone that doesn't write so much, it's very, very important what you do, and I thank you for that.
Well, I'm honored you are saying it. So thank you.